What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about cars in Chapter 6 and whether or not they're still worth using after some recent additions to the loot pool. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below if these counters have stopped you from using cars altogether. So, ever since the explosive repeater rifle and railgun were added, a lot of people have been commenting on my videos asking me if I still use cars, if I still think cars are good, and basically just if I still think they're worth using, because both the explosive repeater rifle and the railgun can actually hit you through the car. The railgun does hit a lot harder than the explosive repeater, but the repeater does more splash damage and has a faster fire rate and no charge up time. So both of these items are decent counters to cars, and since I've recommended cars so much, I think that's what it's thrown a lot of people off. Personally, to me, the addition of these items don't really affect me much at all and don't affect my opinion on cars much at all. And how I like using them plays out basically the same way. And I think a lot of this just comes down to the reason for using cars and why I think they're so good. You see a lot of people in game that behave as if they're invincible just because they're in the car. And that is the biggest problem. Don't behave as if you're invincible just because they're in the car. And this sounds very obvious. I'm sure a lot of you are like, yeah, obviously, for sure. But you would be surprised how many people just get in a car and then think the fight is not happening and they could just do whatever they want and, it's not going to backfire on them. And I'm sure many of you have encountered this in your matches where, you shoot at somebody, they get in a car, and then you just blow their car up on them and they never even thought about getting out. And it was just basically a free elimination. I'm sure many of you have encountered players like that. And the reason why I think cars is so good, not only is for getting around the map faster, but also you're less susceptible to just like really unfortunate timing, especially with the hollow twister AR. Like you can get shot out of the car or damaged while you're in the car, but you're not going to get like super melted like how you would if you were running around on the ground and a decent player got lucky timing on you. That is the main reason why I think cars are incredible. The hollow twister AR is an incredible assault rifle, and anybody with good aim can put out a lot of damage very fast with that weapon. So if you get caught, not even necessarily out in the open, but if an enemy gets first shot on you and kind of surprises you, it doesn't take long. Like even if you react quickly, you can take a lot of damage very fast to the point where that enemy has a huge advantage in the fight, right? And they could just, push you and then continue the fight. And that HP advantage gives them a huge advantage and likely leads to them winning the fight. That is why I like having cars. It's just, I'm less likely to get caught by that terrible timing, right? You can get railgunned while you're in the car. You can get repeatered while you're in the car. But getting shot by a repeater shot or two, I think is way less problematic to me than getting like beamed by somebody decent with the hollow twister AR. And I think the most obvious answer to these items being in the game is whenever you encounter somebody using them, get out of your car. The railgun, you can often see players charging up before they're able to shoot it. They can shoot it before it's full charge. But either way, you get somewhat of a warning there. And then the repeater, like sure, you might get caught off guard, but if you take a shot or two, it's really not the end of the world. The splash damage hits for about 40. So if you get shot once by the repeater, they haven't even actually damaged you yet. Like because overshield and zero build, right? So the first repeater shot just goes to your overshield and then you can get out and then hopefully stop getting attacked by the repeater. Even if you take 2 shots, you're probably going to be at 170-ish health. You're not in a terrible situation. So that is just what it comes down to. If you see the laser, get out of the car. If you're getting repeatered, get out of the car. And what I would want to do most is kind of turn my car sideways so that when I get out, I'm on the opposite side of the car than the person shooting me with the repeater, and then just get out and shoot them with the hollow twister AR. And I think the damage potential of the hollow twister AR is so much better than the explosive repeater rifle. So if they're just going to keep trying to repeater me, which will often be the case, if somebody's shooting your car with the repeater, sometimes they'll swap to the AR when you get out, but I feel like 90% of the time, they just keep shooting at you with the repeater. And that is a trade that I am very willing to take because I think the hollow twister is just so much better than the repeater. And I can often get, 100 plus damage on them very quick. They back up and then I can either choose to heal or push them and finish the fight. And as I said earlier in the video, the whole reason why I want to use cars, or one of the main reasons why I want to use cars, is because of how much better I think the Hollow Twister AR is. If I'm going to get caught with unfortunate timing and the enemy's going to get first shot, I would much rather them be shooting my car with a repeater and me taking 40 than taking potentially 100 plus in an instant, because the Hollow Twister AR is incredible. So I just really haven't had much of a problem dealing with the explosive repeater. Even if I'm in a car, I'm pretty happy if they're shooting at me with the repeater, because then we get into that situation like I already outlined, where I just get out and beam them. They're probably still shooting me with the repeater, and that is just not necessarily an auto win in the fight, but I feel like an automatic, like I'm going to get a damage advantage on this person very quickly. Some people's AR aim might not be as good, but if your AR aim is good, I think you should be winning those situations handedly. And this is basically how I played anyways, as I kind of already touched on. I wasn't driving the car around thinking I'm invincible. I was driving the car around so they shoot at the car rather than me, and then I can get out and beam them. So how I play the game hasn't really changed as a result of these items being added, because my response to somebody shooting at my car most of the time was just to get out and beam them anyways. And so the repeater kind of forces people out sooner because they're actively taking damage from it. But I think the play is still the same. One thing you can potentially do to make your life a little bit better when it comes to this sort of thing, if you are struggling to deal with these items, is try to drive somewhat close to cover. That way you can avoid getting caught in a really bad situation where you're just out in the open getting sprayed by the repeater or the AR. Like I kind of already touched on, this is something that you should be doing anyways. I would try to navigate the map in such a way, even when I was in a car, to where I could get out and have cover. Shockwaves can also be really helpful if you don't want to, you know, trade shots with the person who has the repeater. Then you could just get out of your car and shockwave away. Trying to get out and then void mask away, or trying to get out and then, you know, kinetic blade, typhoon blade away. I feel like none of those items really grant you just the immediate snap, like I'm out of here movement. The void mask kind of does, but since you do have to like throw it and then wait for it to travel and then TP, just more of a delay than just getting out and shockwaving. So if you consistently find yourself losing to people spamming your car with the repeater, carrying some shockwaves can be helpful. The biggest problem, or the biggest like group of people I think who are going to be affected by the repeater being added, is going to be players in squads. Because if you're driving around in a car with all 4 people in it, an enemy shooting you with the repeater is incredible value, right? Because you're hitting everybody at once potentially. And so instead of doing 40 damage per shot, you're basically doing 160 per shot if you're affecting the entire squad, right? And so with this in the game, you probably don't want to be driving around in a car with all 4 people if you can help it. Like everyone having their own car would be ideal, or having, you know, at least be split up a bit. And I think this is good anyways, because if you're gonna get out of the car and try to beam people, you want to get out in such a way where the car acts as cover between you and the enemy. But if you had a full squad in a car, 2 of the people are getting out on the same side as the enemy and then not having cover. So I feel like even regardless of these items being in the game, it's best to kind of spread the team out and not have everybody in the same car. You know, sometimes you're going to have to do what you got to do based on what's available to you. But if you have the options to have several vehicles, I think spreading people out is going to limit the effectiveness of this explosive repeater and just make it a little bit easier for you to play. And then one final thing is going to be that shield bubbles on the car can potentially be a counter to some of these items as well, because, you know, they can't shoot through the shield bubble. I don't think the railgun can, and the explosive repeater certainly can't. So you can just throw the shield bubble on the car, and then you are protected for a period of time if that is something you're very concerned about. I wouldn't really dedicate an inventory slot to that though, because as I said in the video, I don't think it's a big deal. I'm just going to get out and beam them and then go about my day. And I think the people that are struggling most versus this sort of item kind of like panic and don't really know what to do, and they're maybe scared to get out, or they were kind of the group of people, like I was saying, that play cars as if they're invincible, and then now suddenly they're not, and that really throws them off. But if you were playing cars to look for fights anyways, I don't think really anything has changed as a result of these items coming out. And as you can tell, I still think cars are very much worth using. As always, if you guys did find this video to be, you know, helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. If you would like to support me in the item shop, my code is EvolveJake, just like my channel name. You can put it in the code. And then anything you buy in the shop, Epic, you know, basically pays me a percentage of. So I would much appreciate that. I don't plug my code super often, but I tried to a bit more towards the end of the season because obviously a lot of people are going to be getting the upcoming battle pass. So if you enjoy my videos, my code is EvolveJake. Like this if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you like to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.